How do you foresee the future of Ghana education in the next 30 years?
Okay, I'm not sure I can predict 30 years ahead. So let me say what I hope. Let me tell you my hope, right? In 5 years, right?
In 5 years?
Yes.
Here in Western Region, what's the name? There's a school called Bensu Senior High Technical School.
Yes.
I was there to interview some of the students.
Yes.
And over there in a conversation, they mentioned T-TEL.
Yes.
What is T-TEL?
Okay, so T-TEL stands for Transforming Teaching, Education and Learning. And we're a Ghanaian not-for-profit organisation. We were founded in July 2020. Our board chair is Professor Joe Fasano-Mensah. And we have an ambition of showing that a Ghanaian organisation can deliver world-class technical assistance. And it's our mission to work very closely with Government of Ghana agencies, Ghana Education Service, National Teaching Council, National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, and other agencies to help improve the quality of education delivery in Ghana. And you know, what we've noticed is if you look at Ghana, we have quite a lot of international organisations coming in, and we feel that we have enough talent and expertise in Ghana to be able to deliver those services locally. And also, we also find that some NGOs are quite interested in branding and publicity, and sometimes that undermines government ownership. So we're very clear that we work for the government. Ghana Education Service are our main partner, and we work where they ask us to work, and we support them on what they want us to support them on. And Bensu Senior High Technical School is one of 12 schools where we worked last year with Ghana Education Service to pilot approaches that we're now supporting GES to roll out across all 700 senior high schools and senior high technical schools this year.
Amazing. Are you a Ghanaian yourself? They want to know.
Yes, so my citizenship is in process. You see, I say we when I talk about Ghana. I first came to Ghana 23 years ago.
Amazing.
And I left in the meantime, but I came back here in 2017, and this is where I've settled. This is my home. My citizenship is in progress, and I feel very proud to be associated with Ghana and all the work we're doing in the education system.
So you love the country that much for you to relocate and even acquire citizenship?
Yes. I think I've had a very varied life. I've worked in 11 countries across sub-Saharan Africa. I've worked for the British Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, in his delivery unit. I've spent 5 years in the British government at quite senior levels. And my driving force is trying to help government to work better and to deliver better educational outcomes. And of all the countries that I've worked in across sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana has the most potential to improve and to really transform the way that we're doing things. And I think sometimes when we live here, we don't appreciate that because we see the hardships, we see the problems, we see the issues of the economy. But there are so many things that are positive about this country. You look at the quality of our tertiary education, you look at the quality of the teachers that we're producing, and some of the academics that we've got, not only in Ghana, but in the diaspora, people in the US, the UK, and there is a real momentum to change, and I feel very proud to be part of that.
We're going to go more into T-TEL, like what you do.
Yeah.
But you just said something very interesting about education of this country and how quality it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there do not think, most do not agree with you that education in this country is quality. Like they have different perception about education in this country. What makes you think is that quality?
Okay, well I think the first thing to say is you need to look comparatively. You go and look at Sierra Leone or Mozambique or Uganda or those countries and you'll see a vast difference. But look, as Ghana, we shouldn't be benchmarking ourselves against those countries. We should have the ambition to be looking globally. There are pockets of excellence in this country. You know, you look at a university like Ashesi, you look at some of the academics that we're producing, you look at some of the performance in schools like Wesley Girls and others. What we don't have is that quality across the board. We have a lot of inequity and a lot of inequality, and there are a lot of areas where we need to improve. But there are pockets of excellence that we can build upon and we can sustain. And from our work supporting GES in senior high schools, we see this momentum for change. You know the way that senior high school education has traditionally been, and I speak as someone that came here in 2000 to teach in a senior high school. I taught in the northeast region.
In this country?
Yes.
You've taught in this country?
Yes. I came here, so I came as a graduate teacher in 2000. We have this thing in the UK called voluntary service overseas. It's like national service. And they asked you 2 questions. Do you want to go to Africa or Asia? And I said Africa. And then they said, do you want rural or urban? And I said rural. And the next thing I know, I'm in West Mamprusi district at Wulugu Senior High School at the age of 22. And that was the moment that changed me. And that, I spent 2.5 years teaching in that rural school. So I understand exactly what it's like to teach in a rural school. You have your 1 box of chalk per semester that you're given. You've got to crush up batteries to make the blackboard black. You've got a lot of children there that aren't learning at the level. So I understand those hardships. And so you see the way that we've traditionally taught in senior high schools, we're chewing and pouring and passing and forgetting. Because I can talk about quality in Ghana, but what has undermined quality is our obsession with examinations at all stages of the system. And we come to think that education is about getting a certificate, not about getting skills and competencies.
Is that not how it's supposed to be, the certificate? I mean, the chew and pour.
The certificate is supposed to represent something, because what happens at the moment, and if you look at why we're supporting the government to transform senior high school education, we conducted a baseline survey with employers, with tertiary education institutions, and we said, what do you think of the graduates that you're receiving, the senior high school graduates? And the universities would say, well, discipline and integrity is okay, but they have big issues with critical thinking and problem solving. Employers, the same thing, critical thinking and problem solving. As our minister said, you can't memorize your way out of poverty. And we have an education system which is training us to memorize and rote learn and then regurgitate on a paper. And for Ghana to develop economically and as a society, we need a lot more than that. We really do. And so I was in Zabzugu Senior High School about a year ago, and there was a young lady. She was studying her books, so I asked her, what are you studying? She said, I'm studying geography. So I just said to her, oh, what's geography? And I could see the panic go across her face because she was trying to memorize the dictionary definition of geography instead of telling me from her heart or from her head. Oh, geography, we're studying about people, places. She was too scared to answer because she thought that I wanted the correct, and so that's what we're doing. So when I talk about quality, we have the potential as a nation to be much more than that. And if you look at what GES have done over the past 6 months in the senior high schools and the type of thing that you're seeing in Bensu, we're seeing a transformation. We've supported GES to establish these weekly professional learning community sessions. So once a week the teachers come together, they go through structured materials, they look at how they can promote these 21st century skills. And we're really starting to see that change in the classroom.
Awesome.
So senior high school classroom is not just about sitting there and the teacher coming, writing notes and then saying, do you understand? Yes, sir. Those days are going. It's much more about group work, presentation, collaboration. And that change has only started. And over the next 4 or 5 years, I'm sure we'll all see that a big improvement.
Awesome. Is that what T-TEL is experimenting in the 12 schools, like the one that you started that included Bensu?
So I mean, let me come back. It's GES, Ghana Education Service. All of this is under Ghana Education Service. We worked in 12 schools last year to prove the concept. And those 12 schools were all schools that have challenges. I'm sure if you go to Bensu, you see it's a challenge school. And the concept was, let the school identify their own problems. Too often we try to centralize everything and we looked at Accra to solve what's going on. So we said, all right, let's bring together all of the school community. Let's bring together the students, the teachers, the parents, the PTA, the Alumni Association, and let them analyze what can they do to improve the school. So each school came up with a school improvement plan. With GES, we provided some funding for that. And then as part of that, they started to do these weekly sessions. We did a baseline assessment. So before all the students, at the start, all the students were assessed on English, mathematics, science, and then 21st century skills. And then at the end, a year later, they were assessed. And we'd seen really very impressive improvements in learning outcomes, even in 12 months. And then, we have these national teacher standards in Ghana. That's another great thing that we have in Ghana. There's a lot of countries, even in Europe, that don't have a document like national teacher standards that says what teachers should know and should do and how they should behave. At the start, in those 12 schools, 0% of teachers were meeting the standards when we observed their lessons. But by the end, 20% of the teachers were. And that's only in a 12-month period. If we went back now, it would be more. And so really that's our aim, is that can we take that model, and again, doing the weekly professional learning community in your school doesn't cost money.
Yeah, what is that? The PLC?
PLC, yeah. So a PLC, the idea behind a PLC is you bring all of the teachers together to reflect on their practice. Because if you look at a school, so when I was teaching in Ghana, I taught for 2.5 years. Nobody ever came to observe my lesson. Nobody else came to see me teach. So you can have a school that has 50 teachers, but they're not working collaboratively, because each of them is going to the classroom, they're teaching. They could have been teaching for 15 years and no one has set foot in their lesson. So you could have the best teacher in Ghana, and next door you could have the worst teacher in Ghana, but nobody knows because nobody's sharing practice. So the idea is, instead of having 50 individuals, can we have 50 teachers who are working together collaboratively? So they come together once a week. GES have timetabled it. It's 90 minutes a week. They go through different materials, and then they have to show how they use those materials in the class. So if I'm learning about social and emotional learning and how to be more inclusive, when I go to the class I have to practice that. And then each teacher picks what they call a critical friend. So they observe each other teaching. And then when they come back the next week, then they share that information. That's only been going on for about 4 months. But already we're starting to see the big changes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the government of Ghana is introducing a new curriculum next year for secondary schools. NACA have written that curriculum. It's going to be rolled out 2024-25 academic year. And it's these weekly sessions that are going to be taking place that are going to ensure that the teachers understand that curriculum when it actually comes to be implemented. You know, as the government, we've learned a lot of lessons from previous curriculum implementation. And one of the key things is you need to make sure that teachers understand it and teachers are familiar with it before it's rolled out. So yeah, we're very hopeful.
Awesome. So how do you foresee the future of Ghana education in the next 30 years?
Okay, I'm not sure I can predict 30 years ahead. So let me say what I hope. Let me tell you my hope, right, in 5 years. Right?
In 5 years?
Yes. My hope in 5 years is that, and by the way, this is based on evidence because we haven't even talked about teacher education yet. T-TEL started to work in the colleges of education. So if you look at the way that the 46 public colleges train teachers now, it's very different to 2015. So my hope for Ghana senior high school system is that in 5 years' time, we have a Ghanaian curriculum written by Ghanaians, which focuses on Ghanaian history, Ghanaian culture, promotes Ghanaian language, gives Ghanaians a sense of pride and belief, rather than believing that we're inferior to Europe or other places. We're not inferior to those countries, but we've had an education system which has reinforced that from a young age, and it's damaging. So in 5 years, having a curriculum that has corrected that, and having a method of teaching and pedagogies that are encouraging young people to collaborate, to communicate, to think critically, and having an assessment system where you cannot chew, pour and pass and forget your way into tertiary education. And I think those things, you might think I'm crazy sitting here now, but look, 5 years' time, let's meet up again and let's see how it's going. I think it's possible.
Awesome. So you said something very striking right now.
Yeah.
You said the written curriculum.
Yeah.
Is our education curriculum not written by Ghanaians?
We have if you look at our curriculum that we have at the moment, written by Ghanaians, but look at the influence. Look at a subject like geography. We're learning about uvulas in Scandinavia and all these kind of things. You look at the way that we're taught history in senior high school. When we're talking about Ghana, we're talking about 14 whatever, the first Portuguese that came. The new curriculum that's been written starts from prehistory.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of excellent things that happened in this country before colonization, but because we have a formal education system. Well, look at where formal education was brought. Formal education was brought to Ghana by the colonialists. Right? It was brought by the British, and it had a very specific purpose. And its specific purpose was to persuade Ghanaians that European language is superior to Ghanaian language, that European culture is superior to Ghanaian culture, right? And even though we've had independence, there's still elements of that we haven't shaken off in our system. Anytime you go to a school and you see don't speak vernacular, well, why shouldn't I speak vernacular? It's my language. You know? So this curriculum is trying to consciously correct that. Kwame Nkrumah's decolonization of the mind is being included in the social studies curriculum.
Amazing. I have so much. You did not mention your name from the beginning.
Oh, sorry. My name's Robin. Yeah, Robin Todd.
Robin Todd. Yeah. But I have so much expectation. This morning we had a Skype conference with one of a representative from the Ministry of Education, Rwanda, and then they were telling me about how that when they are doing their inter-school competition, they deliberately bus their students. They don't fly them. They bus them simply because they want them to learn about the topography of the nation, the landscape and everything. And it is included in their education curriculum. So they deliberately do that for them so that they can get to understand the things that they teach them in school. And I was so much impressed. They said so many interesting things about what they are doing in Rwanda. And I personally cannot wait to go there to go and see what is happening. Do you have any plans of having T-TEL in the rest of the African countries?
So just on that point about geography, it's exactly the same thing that we're trying to do with the curriculum here. I was in a school in OT region a couple of years ago. I've forgotten exactly where. But there's a beautiful mountain, and the school's a beautiful mountain.
We have Rara Senior High School.
No, it wasn't Rara. It was like something that like the translation is like a red river or something. As I've forgotten exactly where. But anyway, so we got this school. My Twi is very poor. Up in OT region, beautiful, right? And beautiful mountain, and it's a geography lesson, and the teacher's writing on the board, Uvula in Scandinavia. Right? And all the kids are writing Uvula in Scandinavia. They've never seen a picture of Scandinavia. They've got no idea what Scandinavia is. Even I was in the lesson, right? I did geography in school in the UK. I had to Google what an uvula was. I wasn't understanding. Why are we teaching these abstract things when you've got a mountain out there and you can learn about our own geography? It just makes absolutely no sense at all. So we're doing a similar thing. Now, T-TEL, are we going to work in the rest of Africa? No, because we are a proudly Ghanaian organisation, and if you look at one of the things that we're trying to do, we're trying to prove that Ghanaians can deliver these type of services that otherwise we rely on outsiders to come and do. So if we were to go to Nigeria, Sierra Leone, we're an outsider. In Sierra Leone and Nigeria, African, but we're still an outsider. So there is a lot of work to do in Ghana. We're going to focus in Ghana. If the government of Nigeria, the government of Sierra Leone would like to invite us on our own terms as Ghanaians to come and assist them, then we'll go and assist them. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to find Sierra Leoneans, I'd like to find Nigerians, I'd like to inspire them with how we've established T-TEL, and I'd like them to look at setting up their own organisation in Nigeria or in Sierra Leone that could do a similar thing. So maybe we become like a network, but T-TEL is Ghanaian and will always be Ghanaian.
Awesome. Amazing. So my time here with Mr. Todd, the director of T-TEL, what has been so interesting to you about this conversation? In fact, what are your thoughts? Put it in the comment section and then let's keep the conversation going. And bye. Uganda, Gambia, Ethiopia,